do you determine?
Yeah.
Like, how do you at what percentage of accuracy are you determining it? Do you ever accidentally think that people that are going to get moderated are actually just real people?
Yes, I think for the specific problem around these like large coordinated groups doing kind of like election interference or something, it's a large enough group. We have like a bunch of people analyzing it. It's like they study it for a while. I think we're probably pretty accurate on that. But I actually think one of the bigger issues that we have in our moderation system is this precision issue that you're talking about. And that is actually, of all the things that we announced this week, in terms of how we're going to update the content policies, changing the content filters to have to require higher confidence and precision is actually going to be the thing that reduces the vast majority of the censorship mistakes that we make. Right? Removing the fact checkers and replacing them with.
Well, I strongly disagree with the argument that for removing fact checkers and replacing them with community notes is what he goes on to say. While that idea of community-driven accountability might seem appealing, it still fails to uphold true free speech on platforms. It relies on other users to provide community notes and introduces the potential for bias. Think about it, right? Everybody has their ulterior motive and agendas, and that's going to influence decisions unfairly and target individuals. And I think it even removes people that are not doing anything wrong on these platforms. Now, this approach doesn't eliminate the problem. It simply shifts it to a different form of control, one that may lack transparency and accountability. True free speech, in my opinion, cannot exist in a system where people's opinions and actions are subject to the whims of others, okay? Because there's people that will have conflicting interests in this space. Just look at Twitter, for instance, the mess that it is over there, with all kinds of people being able to say things that are just ridiculous, that really should be removed, but the people that are not doing anything that's egregious are removed.
Weird, because I think like if you're a person and you work at some accounting firm, but you like posting about stuff, but you don't want it to come back and reflect on your life, you want to shit post, you want to post jokes, you want to be silly, you should be able to be anonymous. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think just because
All right, the whole debate around anonymity on the internet is like deciding if people should get to wear masks at a dinner party. All right, in the old days, if you had something to say, you said it with your chest, you said it with your face in public square. You know, if you showed up wearing a mask, for example, people would assume you were up to no good. Just think of the Ku Klux Klan, hiding their faces to spread fear and hate. To me, anonymity tends to bring out the worst in people, online or off. Cool. If people were held accountable for what they said online, they'd think twice before posting that hot take or spreading wild rumors. A little accountability would go a long way in curbing trolls and making the internet less toxic. I have to disagree with him here. Freedom of speech is important, true, but freedom without accountability is just plain chaos. If we treat the internet like a town hall where everyone has to own up to what they say, it would be a lot harder for bad actors to thrive. Plus, let's be honest, half of the internet's bravest trolls wouldn't last a day if their grandma could see what they were saying and typing.
I mean, I hated doing TV because, I basically I started Facebook when I was 19, and I was good at some things, very bad at others. I was good at coding and like real bad at kind of like talking to people and explaining what I was doing. And I just like had these experiences early on where I'd go on TV and like it wouldn't go well, and they'd cut it to down to some random soundbite, and I'd like look stupid, and then basically like I'd get super nervous about like going on TV because I knew that they were just gonna cut it in some way that I was gonna look like a fucking idiot.
Mark's over here talking about looking like an idiot, and honestly, I want to tell him he doesn't even have to try. He's already nailing it. The man's got the personality of a brick, the face that just screams, "Punch me." It's almost impressive how unlikable he is.
At some level, I do think that, having people in the administration calling up the guys on our team and yelling at them and cursing and threatening repercussions if we don't take down things that are true is like, it's pretty bad.
It sounds illegal. I would love to hear it. I wish somebody recorded those conversations.
Well, I mean,
those would be
again, it's
great to listen to. Somebody could animate them, maybe Polytunes.
A lot of the material is public. I mean, Jim Jordan led this whole investigation in Congress. I mean, it was basically, I think about this as like.
So you could see there in that Joe Rogan asked Mark Zuckerberg some tough questions about accountability. making him visibly uncomfortable. Rogan pressed on whether there should be consequences for actions taken by Zuckerberg and his team. Now, this is particularly in complying with US government directives, right? Him taking orders saying, I had to take these things down because the government called. In my opinion, Zuckerberg and his entire team should be held accountable for the role that they had in these decisions. They complied, yes, but why did they do it without being completely transparent with the rest of the world? Now we get to see what Mark is really concerned about.
Governments and folks around the world putting a lot of pressure on our company, and like we need some like strong people who are going to basically help advise us on how to handle some of these situations. And so yeah, that's but yeah, I mean, running this company is not for the faint of heart. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure from like all these different governments, and then it's like, okay, I could spend all my time doing that, but I'm not even a politician. Like I just want to spend my time building things, right? So it's so yeah, I think Dana's going to be great.
He's the best,
great entrepreneur.
Mark is like, I just want to focus on making things. I don't want to play politics. Oh, really, Mark? That's rich coming from the guy who's been neck deep in politics for the past 4 years, playing puppet master while pretending to be a humble tech nerd. The man didn't just dabble in politics, guys. He basically turned it into his side hustle. He's over here sabotaging TikTok, like a kid trying to break someone else's toy so he can have all the attention. Focus on making things. That's what he said. Yeah, Mark, like more ways to ruin other people's fun and line your own pockets. The reason TikTok is going is single-handedly, in my opinion, because of people like Mark Zuckerberg, in my opinion. This is the last clip I'm going to show you guys because I'm exhausted and I can't stand looking at him anymore. This is 2 hours in.
To play games better, right?
Right.
But a wrist-based thing, I mean, that's something, like people wear this all the time, right? So, and what we basically found there, that doesn't do input to you, but it's good for giving you the ability to control a computer. Because basically you have all these extra neurons that go from your brain to controlling your hand. Your hand is like super complicated. And there's actually all these extra pathways because for a bunch of reasons. Neuroplasticity, in case you like lose the ability to use one, they want to be able to have others. So you want the redundancy because being able to use your hand is super important. So in normal use, we've kind of all figured out some patterns of how we send signals from our brain to our hand. And I think the reality is there's like all these other patterns too that are unused today. So you can put a wristband on your wrist that can measure activity across these neurons.
This guy is talking about wrist to hand. He's going to go into augmentation. Basically, he wants us to all be cyborgs.
One of the positive things when COVID hit, everyone in software basically started working remotely for a while because you can, right? Software, it's like, okay, whatever. You don't have to be in the office. So you can kind of be in different places. And a lot of the meetings went onto Zoom. And one of the best things about that was basically you were able to politely have all these side conversations, right? So it's like when you're seeing someone in person, it would be super rude if I like pulled out my phone and like just started texting someone. It would just be really weird, right? But when you're like talking to someone online, it's like, I don't know, I guess because they either can't tell your attention because there's not good presence, or if it's just the norm. But they're like, you have like the main group conversation, and then I was like, at least the norm for me was I could just like text different people on the side. It's like, okay, what do you think of this point that this person is making in this meeting?
Right.
Okay, in this clip, Mark is absolutely buzzing about things like Neuralink, right? Being able to chip your head or wear glasses that read your thoughts, and all the sci-fi nonsense tech geeks lose their freaking mind over. And geeking out about sending brain-powered texts to your loved ones this is his Super Bowl, right? This is his thing. But then somewhere in the same interview, right, because I watched the whole thing for you, Joe Rogan starts talking about hunting and shooting and bow and arrow stuff, and you could practically see Mark's soul leave his body. He's sitting there like, oh yeah, totally. I love that. Yeah, forest stuff. You can see that he has no clue and he's totally checked out, but he's trying so hard to fake it. It's almost endearing, like a robot trying to pass off being a human. Mark is rambling about how AI is going to take over engineering jobs in tech, and he's practically glowing like a kid who just found out they don't have to share their Halloween candy. You know why? He's excited. Less engineers equal money saved for Facebook, right? For Meta. That's bonus cash to Mark to funnel in. However, his idea of this cyborg utopia that he's trying to build is not what everyone wants. And that is what Joe Rogan is sitting there visibly holding back. Like, you can almost hear the gears in his head turning. Like, do I call this guy out, or do I just let him dig his own hole? Joe knows that nobody's cheering this on. We don't want robots to become sentient, and we don't want to lose our jobs. We're going to have a UBI, or a universal basic income. Nobody wants that. He wants that because eventually, as he said, he wants this to be, open source. He wants AI to be where everyone has checks and balances and they're working collaboratively, so no one person is in full control. Well, if you have everybody working together and it's open, somebody will eventually be at control of that. And as Joe Rogan pointed out in this interview, that ChatGPT tried to duplicate its own programming. What government? What agencies? What person? I think this is a way ushering in the Antichrist. I think AI is going to be a way for us to definitely get to the point where all the biblical things that we read in our Bible is going to come to fruition. And I don't think it's decades away. I think it's less than 10 years away, because technology moves fast, as we've seen just in the last decade. Anyways, you guys tell me what you think if you're going to watch the interview. If not, this was my analysis and breakdown of the Joe Rogan podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, episode 2255. Anyways, have a great day, and remember to think for yourself and subscribe right there.